Hello everybody and welcome to the next in the Witchy Waffle series. I dare say you guessed that this was going to happen. Yes, it is the winter solstice waffle. And if I'm looking somewhat dishevelled, I do apologise. I have been out gathering greenery to make my own solstice decorations.
Oh, the holly and the ivy, now they are both full grown. Of all the trees that are in the wood, the holly tree bears a crown. Oh, the rising of the sun and the running of the deer, the playing of the merry gosling, singing all in the choir.
The winter solstice, the shortest day, longest night, has been an extremely important event to countless civilizations for thousands of years, and there are many monuments that have been built specifically for that event. The most famous one in the UK, of course, is Stonehenge. Ireland has got Newgrange, and I have been fortunate enough to visit the wonderful temple at Karnak in Egypt. All of these temples have been built so that the sun rising on the solstice morning shines straight into the special or holy place. Now, it makes perfect sense if you think about it as in terms of being a primitive person. You know absolutely that without that big gold disc in the sky, you are going to die. And you see it die every night and it rises again the following morning. But more so, as winter draws in, the days get shorter and darker and the nights get longer and colder. You could be forgiven for being scared that maybe one day it wouldn't come back at all. And thinking that way, you may then believe, well, if I give it an offering or a gift, that might encourage it to come back. In the same way, on the solstice night, fires would be lit, and it was a way of giving the sun enough energy to be able to rise again the following morning. Throughout many civilizations, there is a recurring story of a sun god who, having impregnated Mother Earth, is then sacrificed, either willingly or otherwise, to then be reborn at the winter solstice. It's not uncommon at all. Now, I can't really talk about the winter solstice without also talking about Christmas. Now, most of us by now know that Jesus was not born on the 25th of December. Scholars are still arguing as to whether he was born in July or September, but they agree that he was not born on the 25th of December. And they know that the church moved the date on which his birth was celebrated in order to tie in with pre-existing customs, the birth of the god Mithras, and the winter solstice. Now, to a point, I don't have a problem with this, until certain types of Christians start banging on at me about being a devil worshipper because I'm not a Christian, whilst at the same time happily nicking all of our traditions and calling them Christian. The idea of bringing evergreens into the house was to remind you that there was still life out there under the frozen ground, under the snow. Holly and ivy, and particularly mistletoe, were sacred to the Druids, very important in their midwinter rituals. The Christmas tree, it's Northern European, it's a Germanic custom. A lovely story that I've heard is that you bring a small living tree into your house to provide the brownies somewhere warm to stay during the winter. I love that idea. We have a Yule log. Well, that's Northern European. We have the 12 days of Christmas. Well, actually, it was the 12 days of Yule. So many of the traditions that most people associate with Christmas have got absolutely nothing to do with the birth of Christ. Now, for those Christians who have a true faith, what they're actually celebrating is the return of their light. Jesus said, "I am the light of the world." So they are celebrating the return of their light, just as we are celebrating the return of ours. We are celebrating the reincarnation of the sun and the return to longer days and shorter nights, the promise of new life to come. For my own personal celebration, I call it Yule. I shouldn't really, because I don't follow the Nordic path. I follow the Egyptian path, but Yule is so much easier to say than Midwinter Solstice. So I celebrate Yule, and we have developed our own traditions in our home. I always make my own Yuletide decorations, and at the end of the 12 days of Yule I will take them down and they get put in the cupboard. We are fortunate enough to have an open fire in our living room, and on Yule evening we have a Yule log, a proper wooden Yule log. I've tried really hard to get chocolate Yule logs this year for my friends at work and I haven't been able to. But we have a proper Yule log, dirty great big lump of wood that will burn every night for the 12 nights of Yule. And on the first night I will get out the previous year's decorations and they go on the fire. And it's almost like I'm sending the previous year up in flames. Being that it is the longest night, it's a really good time for introspection, for looking at yourself honestly. Are you happy with who you are, professionally, personally, whatever? Are you in a good place in your life? Are there changes that you would like to make? It's a good time to think about those now. And I'm not necessarily talking about New Year's resolutions, but perhaps as we celebrate the return of the light, maybe you need to lighten your personal load. Maybe you need to lighten your heart or lighten your mind. And this is a really good time to think about doing that. However it is that you choose to celebrate this Midwinter festival, I hope it is filled with good food, good fun and good friends. And until the next time, take care. Bye.